Ippo's father, a character we actually know surprisingly little about, especially considering he's the father of the main protagonist in a long-running series like Hajime no Ippo. We do know this much. He was a fisherman, he worked in commercial fishing, and although he was never present in Ippo's life, he still managed to leave a lasting influence. There was a funeral for him, but without a body. The only thing that came back from the sea was his hat, and that simple object carried a huge emotional weight. Today, I bring you something different, a deep dive into the wildest, most far-fetched, and yes, the most smoked-out fan theories the Hajime no Ippo community has come up with over the years. Some of these might make you laugh, some might actually make you think, and some will leave you wondering, how did anyone come up with that? Let's begin. We start with Kazuo Makunouchi, Ippo's father. He disappeared during a violent storm at sea, trying to save his friend Sakuma. His body was never found. Only his fishing hat made it back. During the second sparring match between Ippo and Miyata, his mother Hiroko shares a touching memory. She tells Ippo that whenever Kazuo had to face something scary, he would imagine it as a fish. Why? Because he was a fisherman, and what fisherman would be afraid of a fish? It was a way for him to gather courage, to face any opponent, no matter how intimidating. But this memory sparked something way bigger in the fandom. Many fans began to theorize that Kazuo was a former boxer, that the metaphor wasn't just about fish, but about opponents in the ring. Now, to be clear, in that memory, he's never shown in boxing gear, and there's no direct reference to him having any connection to boxing. But that didn't stop the speculation. Fans imagined scenarios where Kazuo would return, with amnesia, of course, like a soap opera twist. He'd show up again without knowing he had a son. Others took it even further. They thought he might reappear in the manga as a mysterious trainer for one of Ippo's future rivals. And eventually, the big reveal would come. He's been Ippo's dad all along. The lost father theory didn't stop there. Enter Shimabukuro, a boxer from Okinawa, introduced later in the series. He claimed to be a fisherman. His skin tone resembled Kazuo's. Even his hairstyle was somewhat similar, and that was enough. Many fans became convinced that Shimabukuro was Kazuo Makunouchi, somehow back in the ring, suffering from amnesia, completely unaware of his past life and his son. How did he go from Tokyo to Okinawa, lose his memory, and become a boxer? No one really knew, but the theory exploded regardless. Fans ran wild with it, and for a while, it was one of the most believed theories out there. Next, let's talk about Takeshi Sendo. He's been a fan favorite since the early days of the manga, and he's also a clear nod to Joe Yabuki, the iconic protagonist of Ashita no Joe. And as many of you know, Joe's story has a very dramatic ending. Because of that, fans began to fear that Sendo might meet the same fate. This fear reached its peak right before his fight against Alfredo Gonzalez. At that time, many fans were convinced Sendo was going to die in the ring, and they had two reasons. One, the strong parallel with Ashita no Joe. Two, Alfredo saying outright that he would kill the tiger. Now maybe he said it in a moment of anger, but fans took it seriously. They ran with it. And today, Sendo is facing Ricardo Martinez, and once again, the theories have resurfaced. Now, some fans believe that Sendo will lose his life in this match. And you know what? Unlike before, it's not entirely out of the question. What do you think? Will Sendo survive? Or is this his final match? Let me know in the comments below. Let's move on to Takamura. For a while in the manga, after every major victory, Takamura would vanish for a few days. He would just disappear. No explanation, no clear destination. And of course, fans started speculating like crazy. One of the most talked about theories was Takamura has a secret child. The story goes that during one of his wild nights, he got someone pregnant. The mother didn't want him around, but Takamura, trying to do the right thing, would secretly visit the child during those short trips. Sounds like something straight out of a drama series, but believe it or not, it was a widely spread theory back in 2012 and 2013, especially during a content drought in the series. Other, slightly more grounded theories suggested that Takamura was searching for a cure for his eye, since there were subtle hints about a possible injury. Some fans even thought he was looking for a cure for Kamogawa's illness, believing his mentor might be hiding something serious. Were these theories ridiculous? Maybe not entirely. But back then, they were built on nothing but speculation, which, in this fandom, seems to be enough fuel for the fire. Before we get to the final theory, there's one more that deserves a special mention, because for a while, it actually seemed like it could happen. I'm talking about the idea that Manabu Itagaki would leave the Kamogawa gym to challenge Ippo in the ring. Now, I can't blame the fans who came up with this theory. There were moments in the manga where Itagaki didn't just admire Ippo, he almost seemed jealous of him. And that admiration, it started to feel a little bit more complex. Some even speculated that Itagaki was slowly falling for Kumi, Ippo's love interest, which would already set the stage for tension. But it didn't stop there. Itagaki began to target Ippo's former rivals, Karasawa, Saeki, and he aimed to defeat them even faster than Ippo had. It was as if he was trying to send a message. Not just "I've grown" like Naomichi did when he fought Ippo. No, it felt more like "I'm better than you." And that's what gave this theory so much weight at the time. Plus, in the PlayStation 3 game of Hajime no Ippo, there's actually a what-if scenario where this exact thing happens. Itagaki leaves the gym and challenges Ippo. Of course, in the official manga storyline, nothing like that ever materialized. Today, it lives on only as a fun what-if moment from the fandom. But for many of us, it's still one of those imagine-if stories that could have made for an epic twist. And now, for the grand finale, the most outlandish theory I've ever read in the entire history of Hajime no Ippo fandom. Are you ready? Ippo will climb multiple weight classes to fight Takamura. Yup, not just 1 or 2 divisions. We're talking 6, 7, maybe even 8 full categories, from featherweight all the way to middleweight or beyond. And the kicker, he's supposed to win. Now, this has no grounding in reality. Ippo is already in his ideal weight class. Gaining that much mass while remaining competitive would be, well, physiologically impossible. But that hasn't stopped fans from posting this theory in comment sections, Reddit threads, and even on my own videos. And that's it for today. A journey through some of the wildest, weirdest, and most imaginative theories this fandom has ever come up with. This video was originally released in 2023, but I've updated it with fresh narration, more context, and a smoother presentation for all of you who have joined the channel recently. And hey, I've got some exciting news. Very soon I'll begin uploading videos narrated with my own voice. That's right, we're moving from text to speech, to real voice content, just the way I always envisioned this channel. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments, what's the craziest theory you've ever heard about Hajime no Ippo? Thanks for watching. See you next round. Good night, champ.